morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have said on this platform that Zimbabwe is a failed state. And one of the reasons why it's a failed state is because we have the resources, the material resources, but have failed to put them to good use. This is a fundamental truth that we cannot pretend or deny. And yet, unfortunately, many of us have refused to admit it. Welcome to the program, Ben.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. I've always said you can give $1 million to a fool, you'll only become $1 million fool. There's nothing that he will do with those resources, and it will never benefit him or others around him. And we are seeing this. I think Zimbabwe is a classic case where a country is blessed beyond measure. We've got almost every mineral that you could think of, every precious mineral at our disposal. But unfortunately, we have got the fools, at the top, and they are the ones that are running and managing those resources. And now we are $1 million fools, broke, in debt, but we can spend. Let's not forget, we can spend on useless things. I mean, let's look at our expenditure. They say just for the 2023 elections, ZANU-PF spent close to, $2 billion on the campaign trail, buying bicycles, buying motor vehicles, buying, chicken and chips and so forth. It just explains where we are at. And it just shows that this is foolishness.
Well, one of the problems of ignorance is that sometimes you don't really fully appreciate what you have. And this is being illustrated right now when you look at what is happening with the country vis-a-vis this so-called Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. Here is one of the videos that have been circulating on social media on this issue.
Church denominations this Monday submitted a series of petitions to Parliament in support of the Constitutional Amendments number 3 bill. While making submissions, the church representatives pointed to what they described as the amendment's potential benefits, including national stability, policy continuation, and realization of Vision 2030.
Petition yedu yokusupporta bill number 3 sechecheji 1 the 5th of Africa. Takaona kuti hatigoni kuve nebudiriro kana tichingoti 2 days my election zvinotidyira mari yakawanda. Saka isu sevana veJ5 neZimbabwe yose tiri kufara zvikuru nebill number 3 kuti ratisunungura kuti takugona kudevelopa nyika yedu. Zvinoda kutenda president vedu Baba Munangagwa vakatiitira zvakanaka, vakafemerwa, vakatitendedza kuti isu semhuri yeZimbabwe tive nemukana mukuru wokukwanisa kutaura zvatinoda nekusununguka mukati menyika yedu yeZimbabwe. izvi tichizviita sevana vezimbabwe hatina kusungirirwa, taita isu takasununguka.
Pawedzerwa makore pakupa mukana munhu wekushanda achiziva kuti ndiri kushanda ndishandira nyika yangu, sezviri kutaurwa napresident kuti nyika inovakwa nevene vayo, nyika inonamatirwa nevene vayo.
Well. We launched a war of liberation. We were fighting, among other things, for one man, one vote. A meaningful say in the governance of the country. And now we are discarding that right. This is ignorance at its worst. Zimbabwe's failed economy, lack of development, was not because we were holding elections too often. It was because we were holding meaningless elections. We have been holding elections for the last 46 years, but they've changed nothing. We have been left stuck with the same corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical ZANU-PF dictatorship. And in our ignorance, we are now discarding the very instrument that will allow us to change, to have an accountable government. We should have realized that for the last 46 years, Mnangagwa and Mugabe before him have been rigging elections, and we had no meaningful say in the governance of the country. And that is why we are in this mess. And petitioning the same regime to deny us the vote completely is not the solution. We should be fighting for a meaningful say in the governance of the country, not giving up our right. This is tragic, really tragic.
Having a lot of resources does not amount to good living or prosperity for a people. I mean, let's not go far. Let's take, for example, and compare Zimbabwe with Botswana. Zimbabwe has vast mineral wealth, different types of minerals. You know, even the most demanded, lithium is there, gold is there. And then you compare with Botswana. Botswana has got only but one mineral. But when you look at how they have sustained themselves with that one mineral and how they have conducted their business with just that one mineral, surely I think the question will be, answered straight up to say, having resources amounts to nothing, especially when you have leadership that is so corrupt and incompetent, like the ZANU-PF regime. You find us with the many minerals are going to the one with one mineral to go and look for sustenance. And then you find, it's sad when you see people like this. Probably their prayer this morning before they left, they prayed for better life. They prayed for good education for their children. They prayed for those that are sick. And yet they know where the problem lies. But, maybe because they were promised a few dollars there, they have decided to go against. I mean, we got to live reality. The evidence is just galore. Zimbabwe is not doing very well. It's up to the neck in debt. We Our roads are in disarray. We are now back into, dust road. We are having to go to other countries to find, healthcare. Our children are learning under trees. Right now there's water all over, sewage flowing all over, even in their houses as well. They didn't even have water to drink. Water cannot be found anymore. Basic. I don't know how people will measure well-being, good life, when you say ZANU-PF or Mnangagwa is doing a magnificent job. Show us the evidence. Then at least we can also catch on. Because what is on the ground does not show that we are living a good life. And we've always said Zimbabwe was earmarked to be the next Singapore, the next South Korea. That is where we were supposed to be. Because that, at 1980, we were one of the best countries in Africa. We were going somewhere. Now, if you're going to compare between Mugabe and Mnangagwa, I think you are very, very wrong, because Mnangagwa and Mugabe were in the same government. They were best of friends in the up until the very end, where they, did whatever they did and they had the coup. But they worked together. Almost all the guys that were there, the Chiwengas, they were there in ZANU-PF. The Mohadis were there in ZANU-PF. What has changed? There's nothing to show. It's madness, it's insanity, it's poverty that I think these, characters have driven themselves to such an extent where they even carry a petition and say, this is what we want. We want you to continue so that you can keep us in anguish. I don't know, I think even the international community or the world around us will be laughing to say, these must be the most foolish people this side of heaven.
Well, I have to say, in conclusion, that in passing this constitutional amendment bill number 3, and people coming out in support of it, as we saw in that video clip, we are, in our ignorance, turning back to where we came from. Before independence, we did not have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. The War of Independence was fought to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. One man, one vote meant exactly that, giving everyone a meaningful say in the governance of the country. The right to a meaningful vote is more than a right. It is the essence of good governance. And therefore, for us to be turning around now and saying we want this constitutional amendment bill, which seeks to give those in power, extend their stay in power beyond the 5-year limit, and in the case of Mnangagwa, beyond the maximum 2-term limit, is the equivalent of Lot's wife in the Bible turning back and looking at Sodom and Gomorrah. And she was turned into salt, pillar of salt. And I think the people of Zimbabwe will very quickly realize this foolishness, turning back, giving up our right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country, has only turned us into a pillar of salt. Ignorance is a curse worse than death. Because in our ignorance, we are turning back to what we've been trying to get away from. Embracing it. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much. Have a good night.